previous episode, we discussed about the three fundamental building blocks of UML. The first building block of UML is a thing, the second one is a relationship, the third one is a diagram. For today's session or episode, we are going to discuss about the diagrams. The diagram shows how things tied together, or it is the representations of things which are in relationships. Basically, in this episode, we are going to discuss about this: the X diagram, the class diagram, the object diagram, the sequence diagram, the collaboration diagram, the activity diagram, the state machine diagram, the component diagram, and we'll discuss about the deployment diagram sequentially or step by step. So let's go through what diagram is. In UML, a model is represented graphically in the form of diagram, or the diagram will provide parts of reality described by the model. So diagram simply represents how things related each other. Or, for example, in a case diagram, we are going to represent how the external viewers related with the system's function or how the system functions are related each other. In a sequence diagram, we are going to represent how the objects in the system interacting each other, how they exchange message or how they share message between them. In a collaboration diagram, we are going to represent how the objects or the users of the system collaborating each other. In a class diagram, also, we have to represent what are the structures of the system as well as how each structures are interacting each other. So basically, in a diagram, we can represent such phenomena or such concepts. There are diagrams that express which users uses which functionality. We can represent which user will use what kinds of functionality of the system, or most of the time the users of the system will initiate the functionalities of the system or the software product to be produced. So in a diagram we can represent, we can express such kinds of interactions. The other thing, we can represent in a diagram that shows the structure of the system. Yeah, the system has structure, so we will indicate, we will express, or here we will have to model how the structure of the system interacting each other. Yeah, so totally this is a diagram in use case in UML modeling. So we have two types of generally diagram. The other thing, we have the structure diagram and we have the behavior diagram. So the structure diagram, most of the time, it expresses the structure of the system, or it will express the system at rest, or it represent only the static aspects of the system. Whereas the behavioral diagram will represent the dynamic nature of the system. So this the diagram is the basic, but the class diagram, the package diagram, the object diagram, the profile, the component and component structure diagram, deployment diagram are inherit some features of the structure diagram, but they have their own identities. So this diagram totally will inherit something from this structure diagram. Whereas in a behavioral diagram, the state machine, the use case, the activity, the integration diagram will inherit something from the behavior, or they will represent the dynamic aspects of the system. So, so this diagram can be a behavioral diagram. The interaction diagram also has another thing. there will be the sequence diagram, which shows how the objects exchanging message between them, the communication diagram or the collaboration diagram, how each object is communicate or collaborate each other. There is also interaction overview diagram, and also there is a time diagram. So these diagrams are belongs to the interaction diagram. In short, during the diagram or during diagram modeling, we have to discuss all of this. For the time being, we'll see the basic one, i.e., we'll discuss about the class diagram, the package diagram, the object diagram, the component diagram, the deployment diagram from the structure diagram. In a behavioral diagram, we will discuss something about the state machine diagram, the use case diagram, the activity diagram, the sequence diagram, and the communication diagram will be covered in this YouTube channel. So you can understand the rest of the diagrams after understanding these fundamental or basic diagrams.